In his New Year message to Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed several pressing national issues, including the upcoming 2023 general elections. As this will be his last year in office, Buhari emphasized the importance of a smooth transition of government and the responsibility of all Nigerians to ensure that the elections are peaceful and fair. He encouraged all citizens to participate in ensuring the elections, which will be conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, are free and fair by not engaging in any anti-state activities and other nefarious acts that may affect the polls. The president also urged all Nigerians to support the country's security forces and be on alert for anything suspicious in order to keep the country safe and peaceful. We are now joined by Mustafa Audu, a member of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council. We also have in the studio Emmanuel Osemeka, a public affairs commentator. They will both be sharing with us their thoughts on the president's last New Year address to Nigerians and how his administration has fared. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having
Happy
us.
New Year. Great to be here.
So I assume that you must all have had or listened or read the president's speech. Let me start with you, Emmanuel Osemeka, as a public affairs commentator. What are your major takeaways? What do you think of this speech?
Thank you very much. I think basically, like the president clearly stated in the speech, that this is more like a valedictory speech for him. So he used the opportunity of the new year to, enumerate the achievements of his administration in the past 7.5 years, and also taking a cursory look at also some of the challenges his administration faced, some of the nuances that was expected, but unfortunately were not able to, achieve. But by and large, he clearly detailed a lot of institutional achievements that his administration was able to, battle with, achieve some, unable to achieve some in the area of insecurity, in the areas of infrastructural development, in the area of human capital development. But most of the challenges that he tried to push forward there were in areas of insecurity. And he was able also to give some level of hope that his administration is making preparations for the incoming administration, without clearly stating whether it's going to be the APC administration, a new APC administration, but the president has been very emphatic that the next election is going to be free and fair on his own path. He's going to ensure that the election is free and fair. I think it's one of the legacies he wants to leave behind. He has not mixed words. At any opportunity the president gets, both at the international level or at the local level, he's been very emphatic in saying that the next election is going to be free, fair, and credible. And he has made every provision to INEC, and he hopes that Nigerians and politicians will allow that to happen.
Okay, so Mustafa, I want to ask you this. This headline is glaring across, all national daily. So, of course, I'm going to ask you as a member of the APC, how do you respond to former President Obasanjo's endorsement of Peter Obi?
To be honest, first of all, good morning. Great to be here, and Happy New Year. To be honest, President Obasanjo is a statesman, a well-respected man. But his opinion, as we've seen, is only his opinion. President Muhammadu Buhari has ensured and guaranteed that there will be free, fair, and credible elections. So we've seen that sometimes he's fallible, like all human beings. No one is perfect. So some of the president's decisions over the years have been correct, while some have been false. And if you look at their history together between him and our own presidential candidate, while they were both in office, there was no synergy between the state government, Lagos State, and the federal government. So I'm not surprised by his summation or his opinion. It still remains his opinion. So we respect it, but we would appeal to the people. Those are the people who matter. And as we can see, the people really are not interested in what a lot of the leaders are saying. The people have what they feel and who they feel that they should vote for. And Mr. President will make this possible. So I truly believe that after all is said and done, the people will still vote for the APC.
Okay, but then again, in 2015, same former President Obasanjo had endorsed President Muhammadu Buhari. So, yes. And the APC did not have a problem, with that.
Exactly, just like you're saying, or just like I've said, he has made some decisions that were correct and others that were not correct.
Okay, so
in 2015, it was correct. In 2019, he supported Atiku.
Okay.
And you saw that didn't go the way Nigerians wanted.
Okay.
So whenever he goes, his opinion goes away from the thoughts of Nigerians will show him that they believe in what they believe in.
Okay, so President Buhari has been quite emphatic on delivering a free and credible election to Nigerians. Now, quarters have said that his administration did not exactly fare well in the last 8 years. So would you say this is his parting gift to Nigerians?
To be honest, I'd say his administration, yes, like you said, did not do well in some areas, but in other areas, they did exceedingly well. So we have to judge it on a balanced scale rather than look at it from a negative perspective, which is the easiest thing to do. But he has faced some challenges, global challenges, I might add, with the war and the pandemic and its after effects. So you can see that all of these things have not just constrained his administration, but many administrations around the year. Last year in the UK was the year of 3 prime ministers and the death of a king, So you can see that the world over, there have been challenges. But I think Nigerians we've tried, we've ridden this wave very well, and we're ready for prosperity. So I think if you look at the antecedents of all the people running, you see that amongst them, Lagos State is the most prosperous. Lagos State has shown that there has been a transition plan in place, and till now, some of the most amazing projects being executed by state governments are being done in Lagos State. So this is the legacy that President Muhammadu Buhari wants to leave behind. After fixing the electoral process and making sure we have free, fair, and credible elections, then a prosperous leader will come in who understands the economy and understands that Nigerians need quite a bit of money in their pockets. And that's what this new administration will
do.
Okay,
so Mr. Oseveka, do you share in the same thought line?
Not necessarily, because in credible election, we've had credible elections in the past. The 1993 presidential election was adjudged the freest and the fairest election so far in Nigeria, then followed by the 2015 election, which was also adjudged one of the freest and fairest and most credible elections we've had in Nigeria. Then 2019 took us back a little bit. If you look at the report of observers, and monitors, it was clearly stated there that Nigeria had gone back from the gains of 2015. So I want to believe that the burden is on the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to ensure that at least if you do not surpass the 2015 pass mark, at least make sure you hit that particular threshold. Because 2023 election is, some have described it as a make or mar election for Nigeria, because one, you have humongous debt burden in the country. You have a dead economy or a very weak economy. Our GDP has reduced drastically. At some point we had 500 plus billion economy. Today we have barely 400 billion economy. So if you take a look at some of the things that had happened pre-2015 and look at what has happened post-2015, you will see that somewhat Nigeria has really dwindled a bit. So yes, President Buhari has done his bit. His age, like you recall, when he came in 2015, he clearly stated that his age was going to, if he wished he was younger, that he would have probably done much better if he was younger. His age was a factor for him. His health challenges were factors for him. And of course, there are a lot of other challenges you can look at, the kitchen cabinet and all that. You have a lot of people who surround themselves, who rally around power just for their own pecuniary gain and not necessarily for the gain of the entire populace. The president may personally have fantastic and good intentions for the country, but the managers of our economies, the managers of our resources, the managers of all the laudable projects that the president may come out with may be the bane of his administration. Take a look at the humongous amount that has been spent on the social investment program. If you do a simple evaluation, not audit, you'll be shocked at what has happened in that sector. The IDPs will tell you clearly how many people have received things from, vis-a-vis the amount of monies that the government have expended. The 5,000 that is supposed to be good to poor people. If you take a cursory look at the implementation, you'll also be shocked at what you will see. So the president's age affected him because he could have been able to carry out more supervisory role, with these agencies and probably do more of check and balance, which is the managers of different agencies. But by and large, I mean, he didn't do so badly. But I also believe that at this twilight, he's trying his best to redeem some of these poor analysis of him.
So, Mr. Osemeka, you have given this general overview of the administration.
Yes.
But then Obasanjo, in his letter, said that the president, having read the president's speech, because that's primarily the focus of discussion this morning.
Yes.
The president reeled out his own achievements in the areas of economy, despite the challenges he mentioned.
Absolutely.
Fighting corruption and insecurity.
Yes.
But then Obasanjo in his letter said that Nigeria is, we have been in hell on earth in the last 7 years, and he said it is like coming from the mountaintop to the valley. Do you think that is really fair comparative with, if you weigh the two statements side by side?
Well, in this particular question you just posed is a very tricky one because you're talking about octogenarians. And that's one. And number two, you're talking about retired generals. So I don't know what you want me to say. But I
you are safe. They are all born again Democrats. That's happily.
Yoruba people will say that and me, I want to be old. So the thing is this. I think the two gentlemen, they are entitled to their own opinions. President Obasanjo was President Buhari's boss in the military, and of course, as head of state, President Buhari was appointed by President Olusegun Obasanjo as the petroleum minister then, and of course, subsequently other positions. So somewhat they know themselves. When President Muhammad Buhari was going to run for the fourth time in 2015, for the first time, President Olusegun Obasanjo endorsed him and sort of campaigned for him, and he won. Now, there may be expectations, or there were expectations probably from the quarters because they belong to the same constituency, which is the military. There may have been certain things that President Obasanjo probably felt the president should have done that he didn't probably do. And so, but I'm not going to go into analyzing what they said because I would be shooting myself on the stomach, and I wouldn't want to do that. But the president is right to reel out his achievements. It's left for Nigerians to take a look at those claims, if they are correct or not so correct. President Obasanjo is right to reel out whatever he says. I've never been to hell before, so I don't know what it feels like. And I've not been to any mountaintop. So, but the fact remains that Nigeria retrogressed, and that retrogression came as a result of the two successive recessions. Of course, now coupled with COVID-19 and of course the global challenges. But I believe we would have fared much better because the petroleum industry was not properly managed. The security arrangement of the monitoring of the pipelines and the rest of them, which was thrown away when President Buhari came on board, was a complete error. Because if that had not happened, we would not be where we are today. I mean, I couldn't imagine that for the first time in the history of the Federation, we were doing less than 1 million barrels. It didn't make sense. And until those exposés, we didn't even know that the same people who were producing were the same people who were conniving with others to tap and steal from us. And that's the reason why we didn't get the volume of funds that we ought to have gotten to, So imagine if we had 1.6 or 1.7 million consistently, they would have done much more. President Buhari did achieve quite some things, but some would ask you at what cost. This administration has borrowed heavily. They've borrowed seriously. Yes, you can see some of the things, being achieved. I mean, you have Lagos to Ibadan railway. The railway stations are fantastic. They're beautiful. You can see the completion of the airports. Those are monies. Those are monies. So they borrowed money and they put it there. You can see Abuja, Kaduna is also there. And quite a few other things they've also achieved. The second Niger bridge is completed, in my own view, because the motorists are now using it this period. So it's just a little bit of a tidy job that needs to be done. So if you give them knock, you should also let them know where they have also done reasonably well. Okay. Yes.
Well, okay, so Mustafa, now that Emmanuel was a bit diplomatic, you are the politician. Yeah. I don't know, maybe you may not shy away from the question. I pose the same question to you. The account of his administration that President Buhari gave, is it, if you weigh it alongside the criticism by President Obasanjo, who said that we've moved from bottom, mountain top to a valley, and we are living in hell on earth. What's your own take on that?
To be honest, just like he said, they both belong to the same school, both military and octogenarians. So the truth about it is that everybody is entitled to their own opinion. It is his opinion. If you look at the reality,
but opinions should also, especially that are specific. They need to really tally with reality somehow.
Absolutely. There's what you call constructive criticism, right? There's criticism in everything. Some a bit more constructive than others. So it's not just to throw away what he said. There are realities in what he has said. Things are very difficult. Things are challenging.
We are on hell on.
No, I wouldn't say hell on it, because I don't even know what hell is like, and I don't ever want to know. But I would say that things have been very difficult. But you see, we're only looking at the Nigerian perspective, but Nigeria is not independent of the world. So if you look at the global challenges, I've mentioned the UK, the US, anywhere you want to call it, they cannot afford to pay their bills right now. They are all involved in a war that they cannot afford. They are all coming off the backdrop of COVID-19 and its effects. Likewise, Nigeria, likewise our own peculiar situation with the secessionists, with the bandits, with the, so many things causing food insecurity, so we have faced challenges both within and without. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it. How have we survived? Have we, are we able to move on from here? Yes, we've put some basic foundation on ground. And the most important of these foundations is a clean, fair electoral process. Once you have something like that, then you can vote in leaders that are more competent, that care about the Nigerian people, care about the well-being of the people, rather than leaders being imposed and forced on us. Just like my brother here said, the elections in 2015 were slightly better than those of 2019. We have to be honest with ourselves if we want to move forward. But I have to say, I have been in the electioneering process since 2005, but to be honest, if you look at what happened in 2003, 2007, 2011, you'd know that you can't even call those elections. There were times that we were on the field, materials had not arrived, and they'd be on NTA declaring results, We've come a long, long, long way from that process, and things don't look that bleak anymore. With the advent of technology, servers, transmission of results, the coalition centers were the biggest issues in the electoral process. And the president has made sure with this new electoral act that has been amended and signed into law that those issues have now been addressed. So if you look at it holistically, Nigerians feel upbeat about what is coming. Never have we had 2, 3, 4 parties involved in an electoral mix before. However, it turns out, you would know that the will of the people took 90% of that. And nothing is perfect, nothing is free. So you'd still have those independent elements, which I would call 10% of the people involved in politicking, that would still want to carry out these electoral fraud and criminalities. And we hope that the security agencies take care of those issues at the back end. But at the front end, I do believe that everybody is geared towards free, fair, and credible election. And all Nigerians are upbeat about it. So if you look at it from our perspective, I think that Mr. President, to his own capacity, has done the best that he could possibly do. He's never asked, I don't think anybody can come and say that they came to Mr. President to do a project or a program and he asked for something in return. It's impossible. This is not that precedent. So this process that has been put in place would honestly guarantee more credible people coming to office. And those who are not so credible that make it into office know that they're only going to be there for one term.
Okay, so astronomical improvement in our electoral process. So I'm going to read out a paragraph from the President's valedictory speech to Nigerians. He said, the federal government and the Borno state government have started the journey of returning internally displaced persons to their ancestral homes earlier taken by the insurgents. Also, over 82,000 insurgents with their families have surrendered to the Nigerian military. A number of them are being processed by the Rehabilitation Operation Safe Corridor program. The fight against banditry, kidnapping, and other crimes in the northwest and other regions is gaining momentum and showing very clear results, one of which is the resumption of train service along the Kaduna to Abuja corridor. Mr. Osemeka, 82,000 insurgents and their families rehabilitated and reintegrated back into the Nigerian society. Does this call for concern?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when the news broke some time back, I think consistently you had this surrendering, that was going on. And, I was in Borno from 2014 till 2020. My operation was around, I'm not a military person anyway.
Okay. It's important that you
my operation was within the Mandara belt. So from Pulka to Goza to Limankara, all the way to Madagali, even Michka. So those were the belt, and that's the hotbed, of the insurgency and all that. So to a very large extent, I understand this particular terrain and this particular issue. The truth is that one of the major challenges we're going to have going forward, we've already started having it, is that the community people are not yet ready for any supposed repentant Boko Haram person to come back into the society. I remember in 2017 in Goza, there were these 3 fellows that were arrested, and they were brought into the community. They supposedly repented, and they came back to plead. I remember a particular young lady. She cried, rolled on the floor, held the military and said, how can you say this type of thing? That this man raped me repeatedly. This man killed my mother, my father, and my 3 brothers in front of me.
You saw this?
Yes, live. And you could see that the military were handicapped because they would just simply obey instruction. So the truth is, this is one case in the midst of several. If you also listen to Professor Babagana's Zulum, he clearly made it very clear that it's not going to be an easy task for these repentant insurgencies to go back, that even the community people are not receptive to them. So this is one of the major challenges you're going to also have going forward. But Operation Safe Corridor is a good initiative, but I do not clearly understand the mechanics and, of course, the workabilities of the rehabilitation and, of course, the reintegration of the repentant Boko Haram incident.
So what do you think we could have done with these people?
Wow, that's a huge security question you've asked. You know, I'm not a security expert. I'm simply a development expert and a public affairs commentator. So I simply analyze things, right? Analyze things, then put it before professionals who are able to take a look and say, okay, these are the best strategies that we should go and we implement. So for me, I think that, yes, the carrot and stick approach is a fantastic approach that you can use, because I know that that approach is somewhat what was done to the Niger Delta militant activities. That's what President Yar'Adua of blessed memory did. He was able to get the militants to come out of the creeks with the help of his then vice president, who later became President Goodluck Jonathan. Went into the creeks and got the people out and said, look, you can't continue to do this. So I believe that's one of the things that was also done. Now, in this case, I don't know who were the people who went in to ask these guys to come out. But unfortunately, the difference between the Niger Delta issue and Boko Haram is that the Niger Delta militants were not killing their people. They were not raping their people. But in the case of Boko Haram, these were both mercenaries from Niger, Chad, and other places, and of course, the communal people who joined the Boko Haram insurgents to lay siege on their people and dealt with the people mercilessly. That's the difference. So it becomes pretty difficult to use the same approach. I feel that there should have been a different approach. I don't know that particular approach. I won't be able to tell you that approach. If I do, it may not even be the best to say on national television, because the truth is you must take cognizance of the people's psyche. Many people are still going through PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Even as one who lived in that region and left in 2020, I still suffer some level of post-traumatic stress disorder. If I'm seated here and there's a bang and I'm not conscious of it, I will fidget. That is what I still live with because of consistent barrage of bombing, explosions, and all kinds of ordinances that you hear. And having survived at least 16 suicide attacks. So you now talk about the people who live in perpetuity. So I believe that the government should have used a different approach. The same way people criticize what they claim that some repentant Boko Haram have been trained, retrained, rehabilitated, and they've joined the army. Yeah, I don't know if you heard.
No, but that one was being disclaimed. Was disclaimed by the army. But maybe let's pause you a bit, and I'll come to because we are running out of time already. Now, let's go into the president's body language vis-a-vis your own campaign. A lot of people say that the president is too laid back. In fact, that even gives room to insinuation. I know that twice the presidency came out to say no, Buhari is with APC candidate. Why that the back seat, and how is that affecting the campaign?
This is a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So if he comes out to fully support our presidential candidate and carries him on his head going place to place, everybody would say the presidency is already leaning towards the APC and wants the APC to win and would,
but the APC
undermine
made him.
No, absolutely. That is why what he can do is ensure a free, fair, credible process. Okay. He believes that the APC have something to offer Nigerians.
So you think the two are not mutually inclusive? They can't.
Especially
you can have the election because, like for example, President Obama.
Yes.
He went around campaigning.
Even the most developed
let me explain
in
to
the
you.
world always lean on incumbency power.
If you look at it, right, we are not where other countries are. Okay. So let's compare lemons to lemons, apples to apples. If you compare our nascent fourth democratic process, which is the Fourth Republic, to a 200-year-old democracy, then you're not being fair in your comparison. So ours is just still progressing. But Mr. President has done his best to make sure that our process is credible. Let Nigerians pick who they want. And that is what we ultimately want. We don't want a situation where things are forced on us, then there's no progress. So you can't have the two. You can't have the president in every meeting, every conversation about APC coming over and over again, and then on the other hand talk about the free, fair, credible process.
Mr. Emmanuel, I saw you nodding in disagreement. I saw you nodding in disagreement.
No, I pity my brother Mustafa, because you see, the truth is, to defend APC is a very difficult task.
Okay.
Number one, the president is 80. So you don't expect him to actually crisscross. But I don't agree with him that the president does not want APC to win. The president wants APC to win.
Okay.
It is actually in the interest of the president and the presidency that APC wins. But the reality is that the APC has not done what they wanted to do. The achievement the APC reels out is not what they had anticipated. Because if you check critically, I mean, let's say, for example, I'm not trying to give a knock. Between 1960 to, okay, let me also say 1960, maybe 2005 to 2015, the total borrowing stood at about 11 trillion. Between 2015 and now, we've borrowed 30-something trillion. So the question is, show us. You can show us something, but what is the economic of scale of that volume of money and, you know, the others? Because like he also tried to, that's why I pitied him a bit when he tried to say, oh, you can't compare apple with lemon. But in terms of the challenges Nigeria is facing, you compared Nigeria with UK and the US and the rest of them. So that's why I said it's a Herculean task, defending or trying to, you know, analyze positively some of the challenges they've had. One of the biggest errors, in my personal view of APC, is the fact that you have a president, Buhari, who came into office at 73, almost 74. And he clearly stated that age will not help me to achieve this. And you saw it within almost 100 and something days. He was seriously ill. Now you have a candidate who is in the same cycle. And the challenges your candidate will face if Nigerians chooses him is going to be more, because now you have banditry across, you have the issue of IPOB, you have kidnappings, you have the Boko Haram elements all over the place, then you have the major challenge of economy and is it dwindling or non-existing revenue? So he has more task on his hands than the humongous debt. So that is where the challenge is. If they had a younger person, it may be a bit difficult. And two, the president may not be going, you know, cap in hand with the campaign, because he probably doesn't want his failings to be attributed to the incoming administration of.
Well, that is also another issue, but maybe because of time. But I just wanted to, the issue of health, you know, the candidate is in this Daily Trust newspaper this morning. He was talking about how this job is about ideas and about capacity, not really about, of course, he said that he's healthy, but he's also talking about issues of ideas, which he said he has the best, according to him, comparative with other candidates. Yes. Do you think that,
you know, when I talk about health, I'm not talking about physicality alone. The President Buhari has reeled out some very fantastic ideas in his administration, but does he have the capacity? Was that capacity with him to supervise? Okay. Because he's not just throwing ideas into the air. The last time I was there, when we were analyzing the newspapers, we talked about the issue of salary increase. They've done salary increase. The question is, where are you going to get the money to pay? And don't forget, with every increase, there is a resultant inflation. And you've not talked about relativity issue. And I said that President Buhari has been the luckiest president because Labour has been really nice with him. They've not gone on strike on these issues and all that. Unlike previous administrations where it was like every other month, Labour goes on strike. So you can be 90, have the best of ideas, but the truth is that at that age, there are, things you cannot do. You can't stay so long. I mean, right now it's campaign. He can do certain things. But when you're president, oh my God, it's going to be completely.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel Asumeka, for this, for your talks this morning, and Mustafa Audu, member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the APC, for joining us this morning. We hope to have you another time. Now we have to just draw the curtain.